Let's say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Good morning to all. This House is now in session.
Minutes.
The minutes from the following meetings, the 13th of May, the 27th of May, the 3rd of June, the 10th of June, the 24th of June, 2025, are to be confirmed.
Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The question is that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed. All those in favor say aye. All those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Minutes for the meeting held on Tuesday, July 15, 2025, to be deferred.
So, Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be deferred.
The question is that those said minutes, be deferred. All those in favor say aye. All against say no. I think the ayes have it.
Announcements by Your Honor, the Deputy Speaker.
I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the presence and to welcome Mr. Matthew Salik, Program Manager, and Ms. Avni Konde, Program Manager, Commonwealth Parliament Association representatives, who are at Parliament conducting a benchmark assessment exercise of Parliament. Welcome.
Messages from Her Excellency, the President, petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills, statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motion for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
So, Deputy Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
The question is these standing orders so mentioned be suspended for the remainder of the day sitting. All those in favor say aye. All those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
Government business.
Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 7, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister of Finance, Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the second reading of the Tourism Levy Amendment Bill 2025.
Christchurch. Christchurch East Central. Honourable member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I rise this morning to lead this very brief debate on the administration of the tourism levy. And as you are aware, sir, just to give a little background, you would recall, sir, that in June of 2018, when this administration first came to this parliament to present the budget to effectively jumpstart the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Program, the Prime Minister then outlined very clearly that the country will embark on a journey, but fundamental to that journey, Mr. Deputy Speaker, was that we will share the burden and equally share the bounty. And to the extent that we had to utilize more resources from those persons who may visit our shores to help shore what was happening domestically, that was part of the public policy, which, as you would recall, sir, led to not just the introduction of the airport development fee, which currently still finances the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc., but we also introduced then, sir, the room rate levy, as well as the shared economy levy, in order to ensure that the country's fiscal circumstances will not be further compromised as we found them when we first came to office. And so, given the scenario then, sir, and you would recall, sir, that we had to take, as part of the mission critical agenda, we had to take some very urgent decisions, and therefore we met with the tourism stakeholders, including those persons who are involved in the shared economy space, those persons who own guest houses and villas and the like, sir. And we came up with a structure that we executed in order to respond to the mission critical need of being able to finance government, not just from domestic sources of financing directly, but equally, as I said, sir, by being able to ensure that the tourists who also visit Barbados contribute with respect to the financing of government operations. Luckily, we have been able to stabilize through hard work, in spite of the challenges, the public finances. And all we're here to do today, sir, is really just to update and facilitate better administration with respect to the administration of these levies. Now, sir, as you will recall as well, under a different Barbados Labour Party administration, we encourage a lot of Barbadians to invest in the lead up to the 2007 ICC Cricket World Cup, to upgrade their homes, to be able to jumpstart community tourism, and many Barbadians responded. Now, at that time, sir, there were no Airbnb, Expedia, and the like, sir, were kind of in their infancy. Technology was really coming on stream, and therefore, what exists today is not what we had in place in 2007, and certainly many Barbadians, not today, are participating actively with the Airbnbs, the Booking.coms, and the like, putting their properties up for opportunities for many tourists to get into the communities, and you can see them walking all along Lodge Road in my constituency in Oistins and certainly in the Christchurch area, sir. And so this has been, I believe, sir, a success with respect to having everyday Barbadians, sir, participate directly with respect to hosting people, visitors from all over the world, sir, short stay, even people that doing the home porting. People utilize those facilities on the Airbnb network to be able to participate. So this community tourism effort, sir, has been a success, is a success, and many Barbadians are reaping not just the rewards, but this really is part of what we refer to as inclusive growth, because whilst we are seeing significant investment in tourism redevelopment across Bridgetown and across the rest of the country, regular Barbadians, everyday Barbadians are also participating and seeing some of that growth in the economy as expressed. And so, sir, the administration of this, as it was originally set up, sir, because we had very limited time to respond then, we had to utilize the existing VAT infrastructure to allow persons to be able to file and pay these taxes on that form, and therefore, as VAT is filed every 2 months, sir, with respect to the administration of that system, we've seen some success with respect to that, but the intent here really, sir, is to reduce the administrative burden, because at the end of the day, sir, if someone has a small property, this is really not a VAT issue. We were just utilizing the VAT form at the time to be able to collect the shared economy levy, the room rate levy. And what we are intending to do here is to make sure that we create and utilize the technology, but create the opportunity whereby the administrative burden on those Barbadians will no longer be there, and that this actually helps with respect to improving not just the efficiency with respect to how government will collect these monies, but really make it easier on ordinary Barbadians to be able to be much more compliant with respect to the levy. And so that's the purpose of this. But I wanted to share with you, sir, and the rest of the country, that background, because we should not forget, sir, that we have had to introduce a number of different fees to be able to help government improve its delivery of public goods and public services. And therefore, the more of these types of investments that we can see Barbadians participating in, sir, I am confident that the use of these technologies would allow us to be able to reap more success in this particular space. And so, simply put, sir, if you have a property, sir, right now, currently on Airbnb, as most Barbadians do, when a guest arrives at the property, 24 hours after the guest arrives at your property, sir, Airbnb or Booking.com or Expedia or any of these online marketplaces, sir, they deposit the money that the guest has paid to them to book your accommodation, sir, directly into your account, which will include the room rate levy or the shared economy levy, which you have to file every 2 months with respect to the use of the VAT form. So every operator right now, sir, they get their money up front, inclusive of the tax that is levied on the property. All that the government is doing with respect to this bill now is requiring the entities, these online facilitators, and I use the term online marketplace, as the CPC has advised, sir. In this context, it refers to people in the tourism space, but equally applies to any other online facilitation that allows us to be able to collect. So right now, the monies are remitted, and you would see over time that over the Airbnb platforms and all of these platforms, they've become much more transparent with respect to what is the fee for booking the property. In this instance, if you have any cleaning fees or any amenity fees that are to be paid, those two are identified. In addition, sir, to the taxes that make up the total cost that the visitor will pay when they come to your property. And so the intervention with respect to this bill is now to ensure that Airbnb, when the guests arrive at your property, sir, you will get your piece of the money, meaning your accommodation fee, and any other fees that you, the host, may charge the visitor, and government will get the tax, the shared economy levy in this instance, coming directly to the Barbados Revenue Authority. And so Airbnb will register as according required by the law, in a sense with the Revenue Authority, in order to facilitate only, sir, only the transmission of the tax that is already being paid right now to the host as part of how we are then making it easier with respect to the administration. So what it will mean, sir, is that the persons in Barbados who have their properties on Airbnb or any of the other platforms will no longer, sir, have to file the VAT form every 2 months for the shared economy levy, simply because as you are receiving your money, sir, 24 hours after the visitor arrives, that the government will equally get that part of the fee that is paid by the visitor, and the net will go to the host. And therefore, it is important for the public to understand that the government isn't introducing anything other than easing the administrative burden on the individuals. And therefore, this has been in place for 7 years now, because if my memory serves me correctly, it came into effect on July 1st of 2018. And therefore, of course, we had COVID in between and all of that. And my very good friend here next to me, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, has been, and his team, in addition to the others before him, have been doing some wonderful work, sir, in getting, in this post-COVID environment, more and more visitors to come to visit Barbados, but equally more and more visitors as well, sir, are participating in this shared economy space, because that is why, as I will reference, sir, that is why, certainly in my constituency and across Kingston and on Lodge Road and the surrounding areas, that is why you see tourists, sir, walking up and down the road, exploring communities in Barbados, which was the original intent, sir, with respect to the community tourism program that I know the former member for St. Michael South, former ambassador to the United States, I'm not allowed to call you Barney, Mr. Lynch, Noah Lynch, not Barney, Noah Lynch, when he started this effort, going back, leading into the 2007 World Cup, this was part of how we were ensuring that whilst we were making a significant investment with respect to the infrastructural work at Kensington at the time, that ordinary Barbadians, this was intended to be one of the legacy impacts of that initial investment in Cricket World Cup 2007. And so this policy is now reaping benefits not just for the government in relation to revenue, but Barbadians right across the length and breadth of this country, with modest homes, who they've fixed them up, sir, to very good levels, such that the demand is there for people to get closer to people in communities, sir, getting closer to the shops, as you know, sir, across the length and breadth of Barbados. The taxi men busy, sir, in every nook and cranny across Barbados, trying to find the latest facility, if you like, sir, that has popped up. And this really is an example that the confidence of ordinary Barbadians to invest, sir, to invest. Because this is really the rubber hits the road with respect to how the macroeconomy meets with ordinary Barbadians, sir. And so to the extent that you're seeing right across the full landscape of the economy, ordinary Barbadians now, not just big-time hotels and big-time investors, sir, get to welcome people and make money, but ordinary Barbadians, sir, are making money out of this, this tourism policy, which was initiated by, as I said, the previous Barbados Labour Party administration, sir, and with the help of technology, it means that the quality of the service, which I know Barbados has been known for. Of course, it slipped under the last administration, but the quality of service that we provide is really what will set your investment apart from that of your neighbor. And I know that people are offering some very unique product, if you like, in this space. And travelers, sir, travelers have been responding. And so, sir, let me just share with you in some revenue performance as it relates to these levies, sir. And I will just, for the record, sir, indicate that in 2021-22, of course, we were still coming out of COVID, barely restarted. The levies collected $9.63 million for fiscal year 22-23, sir. The total revenue was $25.41 million, sir. In 23-24, sir, fiscal year, $41.41 million, sir. 24-25, sir, the revenue was $42.58 million. And so far for 25-26, $15.92 million. So as we approach crop over, as you would appreciate, sir, and the airport busy, sir. The traffic tick, sir, just to get here this morning, sir. I had to divert and turn around, and even though I divert and turn around, sir, it took me a little longer than normal, but the reality is at this time of year, whilst we know that we don't want to be stuck in traffic, it is an indication, nevertheless, that not just Barbadians, but the visitors who are coming here for the crop over last lap, so to speak, sir, that we will see further increase in these levies because people are not just staying in hotels, but they're also staying in some of these very good community tourism opportunities and services. And so I anticipate that this will increase. Now, having said that, I know that some people are not always as compliant as they should be. And sometimes, you know, people going about the business, the focus really is trying to accommodate people. And sometimes, you know, they might not file the VAT form on time and the like. And therefore, with this particular intervention here today, sir, that will be a thing of the past. And therefore, we know that with respect to the administration of this particular set of tax policy, that these numbers now will be truly reflective of the actual transactions taking place in the market. But I really want to thank those persons who, within the shared economy space, and I remember, sir, we met with them, if I'm not mistaken, the Honourable Member for St. James Central, he was the tourism minister at the time, and we met with those persons who came together and formed an association. BETA, I think it's called, Barbados Entrepreneur, BETA. The name escapes me, but it's BETA, for sure. That's the acronym. And they came together and said, hey, we are hosting people and we want to be able to contribute to rescuing Barbados. And so that association, we've been working with them obviously to get people signed up, because I know the Ministry of Tourism has continued to train people and to make sure then that the standards that we are offering across the country remain at an extremely high level. And if you go on Airbnb now and think, as I said, sir, ordinary people are opening their homes to be able to participate in the economy. And so I fully, sir, would say to any Barbadian, if you got a spare bedroom or two, and you don't mind somebody coming in and spending a weekend with you, sir, and don't get me wrong, sir, I know that I know how we Bajans are sometimes. We don't like nobody around we for too long, which is fine, sir, which is fine, because people come and people go. And therefore, as part of how you are able to use your asset, perhaps the most significant investment that most people will make in their lives is really investment in their homes. And therefore, as we get older, the children grow up and left home, sir, then there may be an opportunity for people to be able to utilize these spaces to help make a little berry, sir, on the side. And that is something that we want all Barbadians to try to participate in, because, as I said earlier, whilst we have done an extremely good job with respect to being able to message on what's happening at the macroeconomy, these are the areas, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that real people making real investment actually meets the people who visit Barbados and are in a position, sir, to be able to help drive the recovery. And so the reality of this is that we are utilizing technology, as I think all Barbadians will expect its government to do, to be able to make it more efficient, to be able to collect taxes, and to deliver public goods and public services, which has been part of our strategy for some time. And therefore, it is important to understand that tax policy is important with respect to how any government is able to finance its operations. And we have made it as broad as possible, effectively, sir, to reduce on any single individual, sir, the incidence of tax. So just so that we are absolutely clear here, sir, this is not any tax on anybody who is involved in the shared economy levy. This is the tax that the visitor pays this tax. They were simply the conduit for the remittance of that tax to the Treasury. And therefore, we are making it easier now, sir, with respect to being able to have that tax come straight from Airbnb, straight from Expedia, straight from Booking.com, or any other marketplace. And I know that it's crop over, sir. It's crop over. People in here probably got the tickets from Ticket this and Ticket that and all of these online places that selling tickets for crop over, which coincidentally, when you buy a ticket for a fete, sir, it includes something called VAT, sir. And therefore, as an online marketplace, after the passage of this particular piece of legislation, sir, entities within that space, anything that is providing these types of online facilitation services will be required to register and to be able then to ensure then that the remittance of any specific tax will be levied directly to the government, of course with the associated data and information that is required obviously to enhance compliance. So this really, sir, is intended to make it as easy as possible for persons to do their business. As I said, reduce the administrative burden, and I know that this is something that has been long in coming, to be quite honest, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but I'm satisfied that having done the work, that we will be able now to move forward with respect to easier implementation with respect to these matters. So as soon as we get this piece of legislation through both chambers, we'll start the registration process with respect to the online aggregators, if you like, sir. These promote these marketplaces, and this then would allow us to be in a position to start to see a much more efficient collection of these taxes. Now, you will realize, sir, that the numbers that I quoted are not insignificant numbers. So whilst they're not the largest numbers with respect to the revenue, the reality is the timing of these monies makes a difference. Coming to the Treasury makes a big difference. Because if we're able to, and as I said, once I know that we've had some challenges with when people file and these types of things, because, as I said, sir, people are busy doing their thing. I know that this intervention will help not just with the improvement of the timing of the collection of these monies, but what will also happen is that, however small the daily remittances are with respect to this Deputy Speaker, then it will have an impact with respect to the cash flow that government manages in order to ensure that we can deliver on these areas. And so this is a very important, in my view, sir, a very important intervention, and therefore the requirement for the registration of these online facilities, these facilities, I think will be important as government improves its tax administration efforts. And so, sir, this is really not anything that is contentious. We are improving and enhancing the administration and the way that the BRA collects resources. And as I said, sir, we know that whilst the issues that we've had in the past with respect to some level of compliance, that will no longer be the issue, and therefore we will be in a position to better advance the necessary collection of these levies. And so the government, using all the tools that it has available to it, working with the stakeholders to reduce the administrative burden, working with the Ministry of Tourism, sir, and working with the providers to ensure that, one, the entire world knows that Barbados is open for business, and that I want that any Barbadian, sir, who is confident to welcome people to their homes can do so knowing that they can make some money from this activity and do so legally, sir. Allow the government to be able to collect the monies that it needs to collect to be able to help improve the delivery of public goods and public services. And so there's no reason to run and hide. There's no reason to be hiding both, sir, from the BRA, because this is something that we encourage the sector to be able to do so that Barbadians can earn out directly from the leading economic sector in this country. And therefore, if persons have accommodation and they want to be able to increase the rate of return, they want to reduce their mortgage payments, they want to do all types of things, sir, then this is an area whereby additional income coming into the home. And the truth is, that the Speaker, the earnings are quite significant compared to other applications with respect to the use of that property. And therefore, I encourage Barbadians to look at the numbers, crunch them, and make the best possible decision that is in the interest, sir, of them and their families over the long term. And let us at least ensure that the assets that our grandmothers and parents worked hard and built and left for us, that we put those assets to good use, and rather than me and you quarreling, sir, because, you know, father passed away or mother passed away, probably left a will or they didn't leave a will, but the reality is that the home is vacant. These things can be put to use and we can come to agreement, sir, as to how to split the money. And at the end of the day, sir, we really must do better with respect to resolving some of the issues within families. But I believe that this is a wonderful opportunity whereby more people can genuinely participate in the economic recovery. And this is one of the critical planks that, as the work that is being done, the good work that's being done by the Ministry of Tourism to bring more visitors to Barbados, that we see more and more Barbadians, sir, actively participating in this space, actively being able to earn a decent rate of return on that investment, sir, and that over time, we're able to generate more and more income, but also more and more wealth, sir, to be passed on from one generation, sir, to the next. And so, sir, I promise to be brief, and I believe, sir, that I have been able to cover most of the provisions that are here. As I mentioned, the digital transfer, if you like, sir, of the data and information with respect to the keeping of accounts and records, sir, that now will be done and facilitated through effectively the digital process. So again, all of this, which coincidentally, sir, when you put your property on Airbnb or any of those things, you have to give Airbnb your information, because Airbnb is going to pay the money straight into your bank account, sir. And you have to give them your bank account information. You got to tell them where the property is located, sir. All of that information, people have already given to Airbnb and Expedia. So I know that some people believe that the government want to be in your business, sir. But it isn't that the government want to be in your business. We want to make sure that we are in a position to improve the public goods and public services offered to citizens. And part of being able to do that is to ensure that we have information that allows us to sense check what is happening in the space. And whilst I know that there may be some persons that believe that the government may try to use this as an opportunity to get into your business, let me say that there is nothing stopping either the Barbados Revenue Authority or the National Insurance Scheme, if there's good cause, to have to audit people right now. And therefore, this is not any scheme or anything to get into people's business. All we want to be able to do is to say that if they've got 3,000 properties right now on Airbnb, that within the next 5 years, if the target is to get 10,000 properties on there, that it means that is 10,000, well, not 10,000 Bajans, but Bajans actively, more proactively participating in this space. And that those persons who own those properties in Barbados are earning a decent income and able to support their families, sir, with respect to these opportunities. And so this is really a game changer with respect to utilizing both the technological platforms, but good, solid public policy, sir, with respect to not just reducing the administrative burden, but providing a framework where every Barbadian, sir, every Barbadian, if they so desire, can participate and do so legally, safely, and allow for the high standards that we have set for ourselves to be known globally. And so this is really a simple bill to cap off the lead up to the last lap of crop over, sir. And I hope that persons who are coming in to participate in the festival, that Bajans who are out there all now, sir, looking forward to the weekend's festivities. I too want to wish the whole of Barbados a happy crop over, sir. As a crop over baby, I I'm a crop over baby, man. I'm a crop over baby. I really, no, honestly, I really want to wish Barbadians a safe crop over, and all of those who are visiting us to also equally, sir, have an enjoyable and safe crop over. And with those very few words, sir, I beg to move, sir, that this bill be read a second time.
Leader of the opposition.
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. And when I say good morning, sir, that is not mere ritual. I am delighted, really delighted to see you there. And you know that. But let us come to the debate that arises today. You will probably forgive the honourable member for Christchurch East Central if he appeared reluctant to rise and speak when you called upon him. He demonstrated a lack of readiness for the task at hand, and maybe that was reflected in his style, usual style, very charming, but his content. And today he comes to this parliament reluctantly to announce another levy, another tax, another imposition on the people of Barbados. But this is not the general people of Barbados. I heard the honourable member indicate to this chamber the term Airbnb, and he was very specific as he addressed this parliament and this country indeed, that his mission here today was largely to impose a levy to get some taxes from these entities called Airbnb. Now, he knows, the honourable member knows, that a lot of these Airbnbs are located in working class communities. I have seen some in St. Michael's South, to which he referred, Bayville, used to be called Bayland. And what happens here today is consistent with how people in Barbados are coming to perceive this government. Now, here is a government, according to the honourable member's own admission, which comes at crop over, says he's a crop over baby, I will deal with that shortly, which comes amidst the revelry of crop over, but the people are still going to hear, above the noise, the people need to hear what is this government's mission in relation to, I hate to use the word, I'm not going to say small people, working class people. What is this government's mission in relation to working class people? And how this government, by contrast, treats other people. Now here's the contrast. A few months ago, this government came to this parliament to announce protection for people who own establishments called villas. Villas. And I got up in here and I did not criticize the government for protecting persons who own villas. You know what is a villa, sir? You don't find them in Deacons Road. The farm, St. Stephen's, you don't find villas there. This government came to this parliament and announced protection for persons who build, own, and they amended the legislation to renovate villas, and concessions were given to those structures called villas. that you do not find in the farm, Ferniehurst, Rosemont, St. Stephen's, nor Brighton. And I asked the government at the time, would you consider government similar protection for the shop in my Lord's Hill where I saw some tourists? Now, I don't mind saying this, it has to be said, that in the aftermath of my intervention, a voice emanated from up the corridor, I'm supposed to say the other place, and I resent it, criticizing what I said in here. And I did not oppose the legislation which sought to protect owners of villas, which sought to give them concessions. I did not oppose it. All I asked was for similar protection for the shop in my Lord's Hill. But the government comes today, and the Honourable Member for Christchurch East well reflects the attitude of this government to the people of Barbados. And he says, in coded language, that the government merely wants to reduce the administrative burden that these people face. And I quote him again as saying, it will promote a more efficient collection of taxes. So the government is helping people to pay their money when it comes to certain people. And this is not to be patronizing. I say this, sir, to reflect the government's attitude towards different people in this country. That when this government is, and I'm going to repeat it, when this government is coming to this parliament to offer protection, it is offering protection to rich people. I can't put it in any plainer language than that, and I don't intend to be emotive, to use emotive language. Here's a fact. But today, the government is coming to impose taxes, and by his own admission, the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central says that they are going after the Airbnb people who I see in the Bayland. So that reflects an attitude. But it is justified in the coded language, oh, we're helping you to promote a more efficient...
Mr. Speaker.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I believe the Leader of the Opposition is misleading the House. The Leader of the Opposition, not so long ago, made the point that we are imposing taxes. May I remind the Leader of the Opposition that we are not now imposing taxes, that the tax that the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central spoke to refers to the July 2018 imposition of the shared levy to which the Honourable Member for Christchurch South in this Honourable Chamber supported. So I believe he's misleading. I know this is crop over and it's a very festive period, but I will want the Honourable Member to be corrected in respect. I hate to interrupt him, but I had to do so, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Your Honor, I enjoyed the interruption.
Yes, sir.
It means that they are listening. And they should listen because the people of this country are watching them. I am not aware, I was hoping that the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, he has an excellent memory, but you can't rely on his memory. I was hoping that he would have produced for you this speech that I made in 2018, in which he says I supported something. So until he produces that speech, sir, I would ask you to hear me in silence.
Continue, sir.
But he will not deny, not he, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, in support of his esteemed colleague from Christchurch East Central, they will not deny that this visit here today, the government's presence here today, is to impose a levy. If it were not so, they would not be here. They are here. Look, Your Honor, I received notice from the Leader of Government Business and from the clerk telling me that this bill would amend the Tourism Levy Act 2019 to make better provision for the regulation of online transactions. As the Honourable, that is how it reads, as the Honourable Member says, the government has come here today to reduce the administrative burden on the people it is taxing, and it will promote a more efficient collection of taxes. Let no one fool you, and the Honourable Member is not intending to fool you. But by today's activity, the government intends to collect more money from people. That is what they're intending to do. If you're going to make the system more efficient, it means, that word efficiency means that you want more than ordinarily you expect to receive. And that is why I'm saying it is an additional burden on people in this country who cannot afford to pay any more taxes. And by contrast, I'm going to raise my voice, sir, to the level that you allow. By contrast, when it comes to people who own villas, the government does not come here to increase taxation. The government comes here to grant concessions. Let anyone on the other side deny that. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy
Oh,
Speaker. I do apologize. I didn't want to stop the flow of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, but I do believe he is misleading the House. I believe I heard him say that he had been told by certainly myself and the Honourable Clerk of the Parliament that we were debating the imposition of taxes, and we were also debating the tourism levy amendment. And I had to look back at my WhatsApp messages to him, and I had to consult with the Honourable Clerk as well, who we both note that the message to the Honourable Member specifically simply says that we are debating, one, the Tourism Levy Amendment Bill, and we are also dealing with a resolution in respect of the sale of 2,000 meters of land to the Pilgrim Holiness Church. So I'm not sure which leader of government business he received a message from, but I am certainly very clear, and I would wish the comments to be struck from the record, that the Honourable Member is certainly misleading the House, that he did not receive any such notification from either myself or the Honourable Clerk of the House.
Thank you, and I do ask that those comments be struck from the record.
Well, I'm still trying to understand what is going on here, but you will permit me to press on, sir.
Continue, and try
Thank
not
you,
to
sir.
continue to mislead the House, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. I hope that I say that I was informed as to the business that goes on now. I hope I say that. I was informed a few hours ago, but I was informed. And I was informed that this matter would be debated today. I just sought to commiserate with the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, who was not ready. And when you called upon him, he looked at you. In fact, he glared at you. And then reluctantly, he stood up and thread his way through his presentation, in which he promised the small people of Barbados that he was going to impose more taxes on them because the system would become more efficient. It reminds me, there's an interesting analogy. There used to be, well, there still is, there's a store in town, and they put these little things on the clothing. And if you leave the store and that thing, I don't know what you call it, has not been taken off, a buzzer goes off. And there's a notice by the door saying, if the buzzer goes off, please wait for help. It is not help. Please wait to be arrested. And this is what this government is doing today. When it says it's reducing the administrative burden and it is promoting a more efficient collection of taxes, they're basically saying to the people, please wait to be arrested so that we can get more money from you. That is what this government has come here today to do. And I've made the contrast, Your Honor, with the villas. And we are not opposed to the villas. And I'm going to repeat, Your Honor, that when this government is dealing with villas, It is protective treatment. When it is dealing with people who run Airbnb, it is an imposition for more taxation, and that's the contrast in the way this government treats different people in this country, even in terms of tourism. Even in terms of tourism, the concept of the Medes and the Persians exist. And small people who have converted their properties, not small people, I hate that term, people who try and survive and thrive are trying to make a commercial enterprise of their modest properties. This government comes here today to further tax them. And if I get 3 interventions, 3 interruptions, I accept it. You see, the number of interventions always discloses the government's discomfort.
Honourable Member
Deputy
for
Speaker.
Christchurch West.
Come again, sir.
Again, I do hate to interrupt the Honourable Member when he's in full flight, but the Honourable Member is clearly misleading the House when he said very clearly, and I heard him very clearly, that this bill has come to tax the people, the hosts. This bill does not tax the hosts. The member who provided all of the information, this bill was very clear. This bill is here to tax the guests. Anytime you go and book a hotel anywhere across the world, when you get your bill, you see that there is a cost to pay state tax, there's a cost to pay amenity tax, because you are the guest. For the Honourable Member to suggest that this tax the host and not the guest is misleading the House again. And if he continues to mislead the House, he would have that struck from the record.
Thank you.
Are you hearing them? Let the commotion.
Continue,
They've died
sir.
down, sir. They've died down. Thank you for allowing me to press on, sir. Thank you.
Continue.
Yes. So that the last intervention is saying that the government is sharing some lashes, but the person being beaten is a different person from who we thought. The government is not denying that it is imposing lashes on people who are in this country. You think a guest, sir, or anybody is concerned as to who the additional tax is imposed upon? It is an additional cost to the guests. And therefore, the disadvantage extends to the hosts. Now, the Honourable Member for Christchurch West well understands that concept, that if you are taxing a guest, in other words, if you are making his stay more expensive, it probably does not matter to him if the lash is delivered by his host or by the government. In this case, it is the government that is visiting disadvantage on the guest and the host by extension. So let us not split hairs today. We understand the last intervention to be that the government is now interested in collecting more taxes. The government is now interested in sharing some more blows, and those blows are being imposed on the guests and not the host. But as I've said, and I repeat, it's worthy of repetition. If you flog the guests, the disadvantage extends to the host because the accommodation becomes more expensive. So I thank the Honourable Member for Christchurch West for helping to further make the point that additional taxes make the stay in the particular modest accommodation more expensive for the guests and makes the accommodation of the host less attractive, because wherever the money is going, it becomes more expensive to him being the guest. So I thank the Honourable Member for Christchurch West. But on this question of collection, I had not planned to embarrass the government today, but it seems that I have to do it because the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central can get up and give evidence that on a day last week, customs failed for an entire day because the system broke down. They failed to collect any revenue for an entire day in the customs. And if they push me, I can name the day. I can name the day on this question of efficiencies in the collection of taxes. On a day last week, for an entire day between 3 a.m. in the morning and 3 in the afternoon when the system, I think, closes, this government through the customs did not collect a cent in revenues. And I believe it is customs that is the greatest contributor to the revenue. I had not planned to disclose that, but since they push me, I will let the people of Barbados know how efficient this government is these days in terms of the collection of taxes. And I will not stray from the original point. None of the interventions has
Honourable
caused...
member.
Beg your pardon, sir? Oh, another one?
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Honourable member for St. James South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm loath to interrupt the member because I recognize he's trying to gather his thoughts after not preparing properly for this debate. But I'm a little confused because he just said to the chamber that government, by being efficient, is imposing hardship on people. And now he brings up a situation of not collecting efficiently at the port. And that now seems to be also a hardship to people. I would like the honourable member not to mislead the House or the country, and I fear himself, but please speak with clarity and with logic consistently so that people can understand where he is taking the country on this journey. Thank you.
Point taken. Continue, sir.
Yes, I'm glad, sir, that after the last intervention, you say thank you very much. And I join you in saying thank you very much. Hardly anything to add. Now, let us press on, sir. So that I was returning to the original point as to this government's treatment of different people. And the point is made. And I will make it for the final time, and I will make it clearly. If it so discomforts this government, that it is now exposed for its prejudicial treatment of some people, let it be said that people who own and operate villas in this country are being well treated by this government by way of concessions, while the same government at the same time affirms a system of taxation against small people. I'm not going to make that point for the 5th time, but I've made it 4 times so that the people of Barbados understand. So that the people of Barbados understand their human condition, a human condition that is imposed by unfair, biased, and prejudicial treatment of small people by this government. I don't have to say it in Greek. It is the experience of people out there. It is the experience of people out there that this government is on a rampage of protection for the wealthy. And I am not going to point to recent events. It is there for all to see. I don't use the word optics, but the optics, sir. That all the public relations, the glitzy and glamorous public relations exercises hardly ever involve the poor, unless they're giving them free tickets to go down to the East Coast to jump around. All the government's economic activity that is glitzy and glamorous has nothing, it never has anything to do with people of social disadvantage. And this is a serious point. And this country has reached a serious point. As I said, and I'm going to do it now for the 5th time again so that they understand. We came here a few months ago to protect villa owners. We come here today to impose on Airbnb people. That's the 5th time I've made the point. And if they interrupt me again, I'm going to make it for a 6th time. So let them keep quiet. Let them hear the truth. Let the people of Barbados hear the truth. Let the people of Barbados understand why this country is on the precipice of disaster. Because this government fails to protect the majority. Let me press on, sir. Now, all of this is happening in a context in which the central bank last week admitted, let me pause and say this, we don't come here to point to isolated events. If you're discussing the economy, Your Honor, you discuss the entire economy. Because one phenomenon in the economy reflects other phenomena, and indeed, it not only reflects it, but it affects other phenomena. So that when you're discussing the economy, it must be a holistic exercise. So that people will not be surprised that the government is looking for more taxation. This is what we're here today about. Don't mind this talk about creating efficiencies. It means I am trying to find a better way to squeeze you. I am trying to find a more effective way to catch people who are escaping the tax net. And it is not surprising, sir, that this government wants to collect more taxes because the economy is not doing well. Because the revenues, government's revenues are down. And production in this country is down. And here's the evidence. So that and you know, it is really difficult to admit that revenues are down when we are so heavily taxed. But government is in trouble. Government is in trouble, and here I will demonstrate how this government is in trouble. Exports, according to the central bank, fell this year by 57.5 million. 57.5 million by the government's own admission. Yet we hear that we are in an economy that is growing. Maybe the honourable member for St. Michael West Central will get up and say that his tourism is doing so well that it offsets the decline elsewhere. Now, I don't know if he will be courageous enough to do that. But in the event that he does, his colleagues will explain why exports in what they call a buoyant economy. The honourable member for St. Michael Northeast came in here a year ago when she was endowed with the courage to deliver a budget speech and say that this economy was buoyant. And here's the evidence of the lack of buoyancy. That exports are down. Exports by $57.5 million. And the honourable member for St. Michael West Central will say to the young students of economics that tourism is an export. Sometimes it's a concept that people find hard to grasp, but tourism is an export. You're really exporting. You're really selling something to foreigners. It's an export. It's just that they come here. But we will find out when the honourable member for St. Michael West Central speaks as to whether those that fall in exports touches and concerns his ministry. But so that we don't trouble him, Much of that decline, we're informed, came from, and I'm going to refer to my notes. I make notes in here. I'm not embarrassed to say I make notes. Some people really need to make notes, to be honest with you, when they're making speeches. A lot of babble. That decline please don't let them upset you, sir. I will defend you again.
They could defend
Now,
themselves, sir.
yes. It's my handwriting. I'm waiting for the interruptions to end, but look, a lot of the decline occurred in lower fuel rate sports. That may not excite a lot of response, but food, and every week we come here and accuse this government, and more than this government, the Ministry of Agriculture, and I don't want to say ministry, the Minister of Agriculture. We accuse him of presiding over the worst decline in agricultural production ever in the history of this country. And while I say that, I will remind this government, in the hearing of the people, that the sugar industry is in trouble because the government does not know what to do. The government does not know what to do, and ask the co-op people, the COOP people. That is evidence of the government's dilemma. And that is why agriculture has declined and is likely to further decline. So we have food and beverages, rum, lard, and margarine. Those exports have dropped. Merchandise exports fell from 756.5 million to 739 million in a buoyant economy. This economy is not buoyant. It is not buoyant. And as I said before, when an economy is buoyant, taxation responds. And the fact that this government continues to increase the tax burden on the people of this country is evidence that the economy is not buoyant. You don't tax heavily in a buoyant economy. In a buoyant economy, people get jobs and they spend money, and there's growth. Growth, yes, yes, yes. In a buoyant economy, there's growth. Growth, yes. In a buoyant economy, there is growth. But this government is responding to the problem in this economy by further imposing taxes on people. That's why they're here today, to further impose taxes, whether it's the horse or the guest. I will say in plain language, the government wants more money. Ask the economists. In a buoyant economy, there is less of an inclination to burden people with taxation. Ask the economists, of whom I'm not one, and there's only one in here in any case. But what this government is doing, but there's one economist in here. What this government is doing, who vex, who please, please. There's one economist in here. So that, Your Honor, when the government continues to boast about buoyancy in the economy. There is no evidence of it. And I will repeat, if the economy were so buoyant, the incidence of taxation would be less. And I will give further context in which this activity today takes place. Reserves. You know, it is shameful that a government would continue to boast to the people of this country about record reserves. And even the man sitting outside on the sidewalk knows that the reserves come from borrowed monies. Because here is a government admitting through its central bank that exports are down. It means income is down. And yet it boasts about reserves. The reserves are borrowed monies. They're borrowed monies. So I don't know why they don't stop boasting about that. But here's how this government continues to mislead the people of Barbados as to economic performance. This government has cleverly taken the minds of the people of this country into a state in which the success of this country is now to be determined by something called debt to GDP ratio. The government has convinced itself and is now trying to convince the people of this country that the measure of a country's economic success is contained in something called debt to GDP ratio. So that if you have a debt to GDP ratio that is falling, the economy is doing better. The performance of this economy is proving that that is not so. Here is a government boasting every week about healthy debt to GDP ratio, which we question, and yet the governor of the central bank comes and says that exports are down. Both. Well, I wouldn't say both cannot be true, but it is contradictory. It is a contradictory state of affairs. It proves that debt to GDP ratio is not a proper nor adequate assessment of a country's economic performance. It is a macro analysis which bears little relationship to the internal workings of the economy. Employment for one, productivity another. The access of the local population to jobs in an environment in which there are record levels of imported labor. All these are the micro features of this economy that shows that it is not working for Barbadians, and that it is not working well, and that the macro result, I beg your pardon, is that exports are down. Let the government's economists in here explain his way out of that dilemma. So that, Your Honor, I am not going to be long today. As did the presenter, the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, also promised he's not going to be long today. But let today's initiative demonstrate that this is an economy that is not doing well, and that whenever the government points to success, it points to macro analysis. In other words, it looks at a larger picture, and the largest portion of that large picture is debt to GDP ratio, and that is not a proper indicator of economic success. Maybe it serves a good purpose when they're going on the borrowing sprees. Maybe when they go to Boston, London, and New York, as they did recently, maybe they can present that macro picture of what they think is success, debt to GDP ratio. But let this government be led by the people of Barbados into the local communities of this country and understand that this economy is not working for Barbadians. And it certainly is not working for Barbadians in terms of employment. Because while the government is boasting upon a larger figure of 6% unemployment, which we question, in the working class and middle class communities of this country, the unemployment rate is far higher than this claimed 6% by the government, and in many cases, in many communities. I just want Your Honor to be able to complete this sentence. If they want to object, let them object. I will say. But I am going to say, they know what I'm going to say.
Honourable member for St. James South.
Mr. Speaker, really grieved because the Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Member continues to mislead the House. On a point of order, sir, continues to mislead the House. The issue of the growth of the economy, January to July, we grew by 2.5%. That's over $350 million additional growth over last year. It has continued to grow. And therefore, for the Honourable Member to get here and say that the economy is in trouble is a problem. I'm sure that he had reports from school that showed that his marks in English and math and social sciences and chemistry fluctuated, but he managed to pass. This economy has passed. So please ask the Honourable Member to stop misleading the Honourable Chamber, the country, and himself.
Point acknowledged. Leader of the opposition, please continue and try your hardest to stop misleading the House.
And to that I will add a response to the last intervention. Thank you very much for standing up and saying whatever it is you say. Now, where the Honourable Member takes us, let us go there. I know the last intervention is something of an embarrassment to the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central because he did not want any of his colleagues to come in here today and make reference to the very modest reported growth of 2.5%. That is so modest that he avoided it. But his colleague, who purports to offer him defense, calm them down, sir. Calm them down. Calm them down.
Please address your chair, sir.
Thank you, sir. Calm them down. And we're going to teach them how to behave themselves in the Parliament. They all can speak, you know, when their turn comes. Yes, but I was saying that the Honourable Member for St. James South has visited embarrassment on the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central when she makes reference to the very modest reported growth of 2.5%. I think even elsewhere in high official circles, some disappointment was expressed. Even in those high official circles, disappointment was expressed as to that reported rate of growth. It's nothing to boast about. And you know, we have argued that a lot of it is not real. And if we can get a chance to teach the Honourable Member for St. James South about the concept of inflationary growth, she will come to understand that that is nothing to boast about, but except that she embarrassed the Honourable Presenter, the Member for Christchurch East Central, who avoided any reference. He sits there, He sits there and he, after presenting, he rocks back in his chair and listens, except that today, the honorable member for St. James South has come to embarrass him by treading in waters that he thought he should avoid. He thought he should sit on the beach and let us forget the question of reserves being borrowed and the question of modest growth being referred to triumphantly. There's nothing to be triumphant about with 2.5%. And if the honorable member wants me to, I could point across the Caribbean. And I don't have to go to Guyana with its oil wealth, but across the Caribbean, let the honorable member for St. James South tell the people of this country what is the measure of growth across the other islands. And ask the honorable member if 2.5% reported in Barbados is high compared to those other countries. If the honorable member wishes to be the second economist in here, let her give that report now. And if you can't give it now, please allow me to finish. You ain't tempting me today. You ain't tempting me today, boy.
Yes.
You're not tempting me today. Today of all days.
Address the chair, sir.
Today.
Address the chair.
Yes, I will continue, sir. We can't control them. And so, Your Honor, as we were saying, whenever the honorable member comes here on matters pertaining to his ministry, that is Christchurch East Central, it always functions as something of a report on economic performance. And the point needs to be made that the honorable member has avoided, to a large extent, any larger report on the economy. And he admits that he is in a revelrous mood. He says he's a crop-over baby, and that at this time of year, he tends to be more caught up in matters of crop over and so on, except that he has come, as I've said, to impose further taxation on people who live in this country, whether they're tourists, whether they're guests or hosts or intermediaries. A further tax is being imposed on Barbadians, on people who live here by this measure today. And we regret to announce that this effort to widen the tax net occurs in an economy that is not doing well. And it is because the economy is not doing well that government has returned to this Parliament, to the people of Barbados, to collect more taxes. That it is clear that, and I'm summarizing, that production is down in spite of the boast of 2.5 growth. It is clear, Your Honor, that the evidence of the exports having fallen. Damning evidence that you're reporting 2.5% growth, yet millions of dollars in exports are lost over the last year. What really is the truth, though? The truth is what this country is experiencing, not what this government thinks. What this government thinks is this government's own reality. But there's a larger reality out there in the marketplaces. And when I say marketplaces, I mean zones of business, whether large or small, in which there is struggle. And where there is struggle among the well-to-do, government alleviates that struggle by granting concessions. And where there is struggle among others, government is further tightening the noose by imposing further levies. And that is the message that must go out today to the people of Barbados, and that is the message that this government must receive, that this economy is not doing well, and all the evidence is there that this economy is not doing well. Your Honor, I am obliged to you.
Thank you. Honourable Member for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Let me first start where the Honourable Member ended and say the message that must go out from here cannot be a false message that the Honourable Member just delivered in this House today. Nothing more than a false message. Every single time, almost every word coming out of his mouth, false. Saying clearly that this is a new tax on the people, especially the hosts. When I made it absolutely and pellucidly clear, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is not a new tax. That is the message that must go out. And then the second message that must go out, it has nothing to do with the host. This is a tax on people who come here as guests, just like how they pay a tax at the hotel, they pay a tax at the shared accommodation as well. And what do we understand, and why is that important? Because everywhere that you go in the world and stay in a hotel, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you will have a state tax. You see it on your bill. You will have the amenity tax. And depending on where you are, there may be other fees associated with that hotel stay. And this happens in the same way in shared accommodation. Why is it that we feel, and the Honourable Member feels, that the taxes should only be applied to hotels and not to those who come in shared accommodation? It cannot be right. Because they too, just like people who stay in hotels, benefit from the road infrastructure, benefit from the water infrastructure, benefit from the amenities at the beaches, benefit from the lifeguards that we provide, benefit from the hospital service, benefit from all the infrastructure. They don't say when you get to a location, you staying at a hotel or you staying at an Airbnb. They don't say that. So therefore, if people who visit our shores benefit from that infrastructure, well, of course, you got to share the burden. Nothing new across the world. You know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, when I first looked at this bill, this amendment to this bill, it took me back about, 33 years ago, when I was still a student in Cardiff, about to graduate. And at that time, my parents said, well, you know, they're going to come to the graduation and so on. And they were going to spend a month in Cardiff. That was great. I looked forward to them spending a month. But obviously, as most people do, when they're going to spend a longer time, they look for different accommodation for when you're going to spend a shorter time. And this is what has arisen in Barbados and other jurisdictions across the world. When people are going to spend a day or 2 days, 3, 4, whatever, they tend to go for hotel accommodation. Hotel accommodation, quick, in, out, no different. When people are looking to spend 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, they tend to look for different accommodation because the big difference paying for 3 months in a hotel versus for 3 months in a shared accommodation. And that is what has contributed as well to shared accommodation. When people are going on long trips, far distances, they tend to look for different accommodation. But where it took me back is because it is how technology has changed. When my parents told me that they were going to come and spend, I think it was 2 months, rather than booking a hotel, I looked for a shared accommodation. And they had something at that time called bed and breakfast. Bed and breakfast was very popular at that time. It was essentially very similar to what we do with shared accommodation now. But you know what? They could not go and see what the place would look like. I was the person to tell me, go and look and see if you find one, and go and report back if it was someplace nice. Go and look and see what was around the area, what amenities it had, and call me back and tell me. With modern technology, you know what, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you don't have to do that. And that is what has changed. Because now you have these platforms, these shared accommodation platforms, that you could go on the site, see immediately in the rooms, get a pictorial representation of what the room looks like, get a representation of what is in the surrounding areas, understand what you're going to be paying for, how much it would be, how much the expenses are, and all of those things. Because this is part of the modern technological world that we live in. And whether the Honourable Member for Christchurch South likes it or not, people accept that when they go to another country, they have to make a contribution to that country. They accept it. And I'm sure when he's traveled all over the world, wherever he's been, he accepted that he had to make a contribution to that country that he was going to. When you arrive at the airport, you have to make a contribution to the airport. Why? Because it costs to run an airport. So therefore, in the same way that you make a contribution to the airport and you make a contribution to the US when he goes to the US, you don't expect that when people come here, they're going to have to make a contribution too? Of course. So this is not a new tax. And that is the message that must go out. What this is rather than asking the people in the various accommodations to do up a form and submit a tax, we are saying under this legislation, the shared accommodation entities, the platforms, will send that tax directly to the Barbados Revenue Authority, which reduces the burden on the host. That's what it does. That's exactly what it does. So all those people out there who've been filling out those forms and having to send in that payment will not have to do that any longer. Instead, they can, rather than having that secretarial service or that administrative burden that they have to do, it goes directly to them. It goes directly to the Revenue Authority from Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, and all. And let me be clear, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this notion that there's one set of rules for villas and other set of rules for the average people with normal Airbnb is a nonsense. An absolute nonsense. All of the people who are registered, whether it is a villa, whether it is a one-bedroom studio, whatever it is, they will be paying the tax through the various platforms. And the villas are on these platforms just like how the people in Rockley Village are on. Just like how the people in Rockley Village are on. Well, just a few days ago, one of my constituents was showing me that he added on something to his house, moved upstairs, made downstairs available, and he is now one of the, what's we call it, top hosts. I think that's what their names, I think top hosts or high-level hosts or something, and showed the revenue. A super host. He said within 6 months, he was a super host. He showed all of the revenue to me. He had a whole graph showing the revenue on a monthly basis. And I was happy for him because it showed that this was an opportunity for the average person to get in and to participate in the tourism industry of this country. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It is nothing to do, there's one set of rules for the Medes and another for the Persians. No, it is not the message. It is definitely not the message. Everybody is at the same rate. I believe it is 10%, whether it is a whole villa, the bedroom, whatever it is, that is what this will be. And it means that everybody then. And let's make it clear, Mr. Deputy Speaker. When this tax is paid, it goes into the consolidated fund through the Barbados Revenue Authority, which means that we could pay teachers better, which means that we could make sure that the police have better equipment, which means that the hospital can provide better services. It's something for everybody. And you know, it is unfortunate that the Honourable Member could not make or resonate a point at all. So therefore, he had to switch to the economy. So let's switch to the economy then. Let's talk about the economy. And he suggests that growth is paltry at 2.8%. But let me tell you something, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Democratic Labour Party cannot lecture the Barbados Labour Party about growth at all, at all, at all, at all. Cannot. I was in this honourable chamber in the opposition sitting down, where the honourable member for St. Michael South Central sitting down now. And let me tell you, and the honourable member for St. Thomas sat down next to me, and let me tell you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, they could not muster a 1% of growth in this country. Could not muster a 1%. Could not muster 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Could not muster a 1%. It was 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.9. Never break 1% yet. I'm saying to come here and tell us on this side, and I get in this the right way. I get in this. How he could imagine to tell us that 2.8% is paltry when his side couldn't even get to a full number. There was only decimals. Could not get to a full number. It was decimals and occasionally minuses. You know, it's astounding. It's astounding. And sometimes we have to understand what is happening. And I heard the honourable member talk about a decline in exports. I think, well, it was 20-something million. Let me say first, that was mainly due to energy exports, oil. Now, I was the chairman of the National Petroleum Corporation. BNOCL is a subsidiary of the National Petroleum Corporation. And let me say very clearly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Barbados gets oil when it drills. If you are not drilling, your amount of oil that you are getting will reduce. If you're not getting the oil, you don't have it to export. So there was a time that we used to get 900 barrels a day. I think now it's down to 500. That is the cause and the reason for the reduction in the exports. But let me go further. Let me go further, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Just what percent of gross domestic product that is, though? Well, I work it out. 0.1% in a $14 billion economy. 0.1 counting to $20 million of a $14 billion, less than 0.1%. Clearly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the honourable member must find something else to talk, something to resonate. Because he has not resonated, he is not connected to the bill, other than to come here to mislead the House and send out false messages. And the reason that I have gotten up to join this debate, and I get in this, because I have to correct the record, and it cannot go out there that they know about growth when we, the Barbados Labour Party, have brought growth back to this country. And let me tell you, he says that we boast. Well, yes, we are going to boast. We are going to boast because it does not happen easy to get growth in this country. We had to go about and correct all the wrongs that they left. We had to go and pay all the bills that they left, all the numbers of people that they had owed. Small people, yes, small people that y'all had owed, had not paid any tax refunds for years, had not paid VAT refunds for years, caused businesses to shut down. And then I even want to talk about the University of West Indies and what they did to decimate it. That people had to leave university because they couldn't pay the fees. And then, or if a mother and daughter were going to university, they had to choose which one would continue the degree, and the other one couldn't continue because they couldn't pay for both at the same time. If you want to talk about things, let me talk about real things and real people. Let's don't even come with the nurses, the teachers, and police. I was in this honourable chamber when a then leader of the opposition looked and tell the people, oh, the nurses, the teachers, and the policemen, we can give you all duty-free cars. I was in this chamber when a leader of the opposition told nurses, teachers, and policemen, we can give you all duty-free cars. After the election was done, I asked them in this honourable chamber, which nurse, teacher, or policeman got a duty-free car? Nobody could answer. A deafening silence. A leader of opposition come and said so. He given the nurses, the teacher, and policemen duty-free cars. Which nurse, teacher, or policeman in Barbados after the Democratic Labour Party won got a duty-free car? So don't come and tell me about nurses, teachers, and policemen, because I know that the policemen got raises in their salary under the Barbados Labour Party. I know that teachers are doing better under the Barbados Labour Party. And I know that nurses are doing exceptionally well under the Barbados Labour Party and will continue to do so. Because we don't only talk the talk, we walk the walk as well, unlike the people on the other side. So I cannot be taught, I cannot be lectured, I cannot be told anything. Because you see, unlike your member, I understand, I read, and I internalize. And party under the current Prime Minister is doing exceptionally well for the people of Barbados. And everywhere you go, be it in churches, be it in the supermarket, be it even at the various fetes that are going on now, people come up to you every single time and say, your team doing an excellent job. Keep it up. And let me say, and you know what does add on? Don't worry about the other man, he only out there making noise. He only out there making noise. Well, today I am going to bring his noise to an end and show him that the Barbados Labour Party and this economy is booming. This country is abuzz, and we will continue to take this country forward. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm obliged.
Thank you. Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central.
Mr. Speaker, I join this debate perhaps after a highly commendable performance by the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition perhaps is trying to bait me, but I know that I will not go there. But I really want to speak to some issues arising out of the bill. Mr. Speaker, the bill very clearly sets out, and it's not all about Airbnb as well. The reference was made to Airbnb as an example, but we're uniquely aware that you have Vrbo, for example, you have Expedia, you have HomeAway, you have TripAdvisor, and you have a number of other online marketplaces, let's call it that way, who essentially contract to sell accommodation in Barbados. And they're not contracting with strangers. They're contracting with Barbadians who own property in Barbados, who are selling their accommodation services known as the vacation rental market. And as a result of all of the initiatives that we've put in place to drive more business to Barbados, we can see that the benefits are not trickling down, as some people will say. We are now saying that the benefits are pouring through to the ordinary man and woman in this society. And that is where I want to take this debate. Because the Leader of the Opposition gave the impression that we are only coming in here to support amendments to the Tourism Development Act for owners of villas. But, Mr. Speaker, we did come in here to move amendments. And from time to time, we will have to move amendments. But I also want to tell the Honourable Member that if he would cast his mind, that this Barbados Labour Party has had a proud and outstanding record of helping the ordinary man, the small, medium, and large operators in Barbados. And I want to take his mind back to what we have done as a government. The Barbados Labour Party continues to maintain a policy of duty-free concessions for taxi operators in Barbados. The fact that we have not only Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, Toyota luxury coaches in Barbados, owned by the ordinary man, including people in my constituency of St. Michael, West Central, who started with one taxi, and today they own 2 and 3 as a result of the progressive policies of the Barbados Labour Party, and as a direct result of the policy that allows the taxi operators in Barbados to change out their vehicles every 5 years, duty-free, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So we are helping the taxi operators, and the transport sector in Barbados, Mr. Speaker, is worth more than $200 million. That is a fact. So, and we have a number of ZM and Zs operating in Barbados, and they are owned by people who are what we will consider to be small and medium-sized business owners. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we also have an explosion of cook shops in Barbados, in communities, in other areas where we have a lot of tourists coming to Barbados. And these cook shops, based on the policy enunciated in this honorable chamber back in March, that those persons who have cook shops can benefit from the duty-free concessions that the Barbados Labour Party, when the honorable member for Christchurch East Central delivered the budget, that they can buy kitchen equipment duty-free in this country, Mr. Speaker. So it's not only the hotels that can buy kitchen equipment duty-free, not only the hotels, the ordinary man and woman in my constituency who have a cook shop can go and buy duty-free equipment in their cook shops, Mr. Speaker. The government did not say you had to be a restaurant. The policy initiative was very clear, a cook shop. And the people in Barbados are applying for it. And the reason why they're applying for it is because this Barbados Labour Party understands development. We know what it is to bring people along, to help them, to ensure that they too benefit. So that when we hear this talk about concessions for only a certain category, I want the country and all those within my hearing to understand that this Barbados Labour Party government, as a policy position enunciated right here in this parliament, elected to give cook shop operators across Barbados duty-free concessions on their kitchen equipment. And there's absolutely no doubt about that. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't only stop there. The Tourism Development Act is an opportunity for persons who want to invest in a hotel product. They can apply for whatever the product that they wish to have, and they will go through the formal procedures, meet the requirements, and that they too can benefit from duty-free concessions. And that is a statement of fact. So we have not only the cook shops benefiting, not only small businesses who are setting up small restaurants in very good locations to attract tourists in Barbados. We don't only have the taxi operators who are benefiting from the tax concessions that we've had, that they can bring duty-free equipment to Barbados. And all those who have earned, small men who have earned money, can also put their resources, and they too, as some of them are doing, they too can also benefit by applying through the tourism, through the TDA, for additional concessions, Mr. Speaker. So I thought that I would go there with the Leader of the Opposition because it's absolutely necessary to show contrast. We have to show contrast. Did the Democratic Labour Party give duty-free concessions to the small men and women in the community? No. But I believe there was a place in St. Lucie. I believe it was operated by a former member of Parliament for St. Lucie. And I don't recall that that operator in St. Lucie was the beneficiary of duty-free concessions by the Democratic Labour Party government. The Leader of the Opposition can correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm prepared to take my seat if he's prepared to stand and to correct me, sir. But having not risen, I believe he's taken it as gospel. And therefore, when we talk about what we're doing for small business people, we have to put it in its context. So that's why I made the point earlier, and I've been consistent, that certainly under my ministry, we've made it clear the benefits will not trickle down. The benefits have to pour through. And we are realizing that the benefits are pouring through. How many people working within the tourism sector will stop me and thank me and say, Minister Gadineja, you and your team, you're doing a brilliant job. How many taxi operators will meet me and they said to me that they had the best winter ever for the past winter season? How many persons in the hotel sector who would have otherwise been short time and are laid off at this point in time would confirm that they're still at work, and rather than working short time, they are working full time? It is because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is because of the work that we are doing within the government and certainly within the tourism sector. And all stakeholders, the taxi operators, those who have shops that are benefiting from tourism because they're tourists in Barbados, who are buying local food, who want to sample local produce, who are buying from these small operators. The stakeholders within the sector, Mr. Speaker, if things weren't going well, we would have heard the taxi operators complaining. If things weren't going well, we would have heard the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, the intimate hotels, and others complaining. And but we don't have that, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We have people who are complimenting the Ministry of Tourism on the hard work that they're doing to ensure that we not only position Barbados as a destination of choice, but that we continue to bring tourists here. Because when we bring the visitors here, there's a multiplier effect within the country. The small operators will benefit, the medium-sized operators will benefit, and the large operators will benefit. And it takes me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to what we're doing. We're in this country reducing seasonality as well. Not only for crop over, but you can see what is happening in Barbados this crop over. We have Carifesta following on the heels of crop over in the latter part of August, where we have another opportunity to bring even more visitors to Barbados. We are also, and as part of our efforts to reduce seasonality, ensuring that the flights not only continue year-round, but also that we increase the number of flights coming to Barbados. And we have done well. We have done very well in that respect. But there's still a lot more work that we have to do, because we have to grow the Barbados economy, and we have to continue to grow tourism, which is a significant contributor to the economy. But we are also operating in a market where there are considerable shocks. Nobody knew that, for example, you may have had an issue in the Middle East. When we were faced with geopolitical decisions, we had to hunker down, revisit our strategy, and see how best we can position Barbados in an attempt not only to maintain our competitive position, but also to drive growth in the economy. And I'm pleased to say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, not because I'm Minister of Tourism, not because I have a team behind me who are working hard to ensure that we maintain our position, but that we are expanding the growth within the tourism footprint because there's a very clear strategy. When I assumed the office of Minister of Tourism, the first thing I said, the first thing we had to do was to move to an airlift strategy. And Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt across Barbados that that airlift strategy has paid considerable dividends to Barbados. No doubt whatsoever, Mr. Speaker. And beyond that, we went back to new markets that under previous administration had abandoned. And where we had flights that had been canceled, we went back to that market and engineered the flights to ensure that we resume those flights to Barbados. And I tell you today that when you go to the airport, and the honourable member for St. Philip Christchurch South knows this well, because he travels as well. And when he travels, he sees the number of persons not only on the aircraft, but he also sees them, Mr. Speaker, when they arrive at Grant Williams International in the arrivals hall. And Mr. Speaker, we must be doing something right. We must be doing something right, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because when you look and see what is happening in terms of tourism investments, this country, because we are demonstrating our capacity to drive additional traffic to Barbados, we have a number 6 at the last count, hotels that will be ready and open before the close of this decade. To be specific, I anticipate that they'll be open by about 2028. Those are the 6 so far. 6 hotels, Mr. Speaker, $1 billion Barbados in investment. People don't put $1 billion into a country in hotel investments if they don't believe in the product, if they don't believe in the destination, and if they don't have the confidence, not only in the government, but in the confidence in the destination, that Barbados can perform and perform well. And Mr. Speaker, we are, as a result of the investments occurring in this sector, we are going to have an additional 1,600 rooms in Barbados. And what does that say for us? It says we will have additional inventory. It says we will have higher rated inventory. But it also says to the market that Barbados will have greater opportunities for more visitors to Barbados with even more airlift. And at the appropriate time, I would talk about what will happen with respect to airlift in this country. I did so in the budget speech of March of this year, and I did so in the budget speech of last year, when I showed the contrast between the Barbados Labour Party's tourism performance and the contrast between the former Democratic Labour Party's performance. And without a doubt, the country is with tourism. The country understands that we are going about our tourism development in a very sensible way. And the country understands that as a result of the expansion in tourism, that people will have opportunities for more employment. And there's no denying that whatsoever. If you bring more airlift to this country, it is clear you have to have more taxis. You have to have more restaurants. You have to have more areas of enjoyment for people. And that is clear, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So that when I look back and I see what we've been able to accomplish, notwithstanding the global shocks, we have done as a country a very good job. And I say that the tourism levy, and it's no different, Mr. Speaker, because go around the country, go around the Caribbean region. Look at Jamaica, look at Bahamas, look at all the countries, and you will see that there's always not only a room rate charge, but there's, in some instances like Jamaica, the GCF, sorry. And if you go to Bahamas, you have other levies that you have to pay. So there's no issue because the world has accepted that destinations will have levies. So there's no debate at all about that. It is all over the Caribbean and certainly the world over. As the Honourable Member for Christchurch Christchurch West made the point, that when you check into hotels, you see a number of levies imposed upon you. And all of us in this chamber, we travel. Whether we travel for business or personal. And when we travel, we will see the levies that are charged when you get your folio. So there's nothing new about levies. And the reality is, these levies are not being paid by us here. They are paid by those visitors who come to our shores and elect to stay in accommodation. So I really want to make that point. I'm not going to detain the House unduly, but I really had to make the point that Barbados' tourism is in safe hands, Mr. Speaker. Barbados' tourism strategy is working for all Barbadians, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And let us have no doubt about that. Because like I said earlier, if tourism wasn't working for all Barbadians, we would be in the face of criticism and ridicule. Mr. Speaker, when you have partners and stakeholders who are agreeing with your policies, who are prepared to go there and hit the pavement and market Barbados with you, when you have tourism partners who share the same goal that we have for the country, it says something not only about the leadership in the tourism sector, but it says something about Barbados as a destination. And I simply come here this afternoon to remind the leader of the opposition that tourism is doing well. And I think he knows that and he accepts that because he made reference to it in the governor's January to June, what you call H1 or half-year report. So he did not criticize the tourism numbers. He did not disagree with the governor's findings in respect of tourism's performance. So I think he is with the Barbados Labour Party and certainly with the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central as Minister responsible for tourism in respect of the performance of the tourism sector. and therefore, there is no disagreement with how we are performing within the tourism sector. And I'm going to ensure that I continue to bless the Honourable Member for Christchurch South's heart. I'm going to ensure that every day when I come to work, every day when I go to work, that I will work extraordinarily hard to ensure that we can grow tourism and make tourism even better in this Barbados, Mr. Speaker. So, I will have more to say. It is true to say that very shortly that I will have a tourism bill coming here. And I will have an opportunity to wax warm, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and to tell the country how well we're doing in performance. But I always keep my eyes on the prize. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, Barbadians have no doubt about it whatsoever. I go to work every day and I keep my eyes on the prize. And this tourism sector is too important. And nobody will get in my way when it comes to the development of tourism and in terms of the strategy, because we have to be very clear and to be very sure-footed as it relates to the future of tourism. Sorry? There's no vacancy. There's no vacancy. The honorable member comes in here to create a little bit of mischief. But I have to remind him that I will keep my head on. But I'm...
Stay focused, sir.
Yes, again. So, thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will repeat. The Ministry of Tourism will continue to work hard in the best interests of this country. I want to commend the honorable member for Christchurch East Central and for bringing the tourism levy amendment bill here today. It's very important, Mr. Speaker, because persons who come here and benefit from the goods and the social services and the amenities that we have to offer here should also contribute to those services. So I want to commend, as always, the honorable member for Christchurch East Central. His presentation was very clear. He's a man, he's a very sincere gentleman, honorable member. He knows what is required in terms of advancing this country's progress, and from 2018, he's remained steadfast in the execution of his duties as the minister within the Ministry of Finance, and he's done not all of Barbados proud, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I commend the bill before this honorable chamber, and I really want to say to his officials to continue the good work, because Barbados remains the beneficiary of his wisdom, his knowledge, and that of his team. I'm much obliged.
Thank you. Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2.
The question is that this House be suspended until 2. All those in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it. This House is now suspended until 2.